I'm Brett McComas with Target Walleye, and this is your top 5 tips, tricks, and trends of the month, brought to you by our friends at Humminbird Minn Kota. Let's dive on in. I'm sure by now you already know who Tom Boley is. Dude is an absolute walleye fishing hammer. I had the chance to hop in the boat with him, so instead of listening to me blab, let's let Tom tell you exactly where he's been catching walleyes these last couple weeks and how he breaks the water down fast.
All right, guys, it is June, kind of mid-June right now, and I want to give a quick breakdown. We're fishing central Minnesota right now, but I want to just do a quick kind of talk where we're seeing walleyes all across the Midwest right now. Really from the end of May until like especially mid-June, third week in June, weeds are such a predominant deal when it comes to walleye fishing. And we're on a lake right now where we're seeing a lot of these weeds in that 6 to 12 foot range. Super easy to come over here on the Humminbird. All I do is change my depth highlighting here. I'm gonna bump this shallow water highlight out to about like 6 or 7 feet, which is kind of like that inside weed edge. And now all I'm gonna do is jump my mid-depth highlighter, my depth highlight 1, basically from like 8 to 12 feet. Now what this is gonna do, it's gonna show me the outside of these flats super well, and green's gonna kind of be that sweet spot right on that weed edge. So I kind of like to have that green that's setting right where that kind of sweet spot in the weeds are. So once I get it set up like this, what I really like looking at is a lot of these big shallow shoreline flats. You get a lot of these fish that were up real skinny in water all May, dumping out to that first edge, which is generally this weed edge in that 6 to 10 foot range. Once I do that, we'll kind of kick over to full screen side imaging here on the Humminbird, and super easy to just kind of drive around real quick. Side imaging a lot of times is going to be your best friend when you're fishing this kind of depth range, and we'll just kind of putt around here real quick, see what we see. Now look at this, we just kind of came right off this edge here. There's a little bit of gravel up in there and then some fringe weed, and this is what we want to see right here. Right off the edge of this structure in that 10-11 foot range, beautiful pocket of walleyes right now, probably 15-20 of them. So if you're really fishing anywhere in the Midwest this time of year, June is weed month, find a good weed edge, set your depth highlighting accordingly, run some side imaging on your Humminbirds, and find a pile of walleyes this time of year.
So now that you know where Tom Boley has been catching them, let's have him run through his 3 setups, his 3 go-to presentations that have been putting walleyes in the boat for him all across the Midwest.
For fishing this kind of mid-June time frame, there's 3 baits that I lean on pretty heavy this time of year. 1, 1/4 ounce or 3/8 ounce jig and some kind of fluke style minnow. Fish a lot of times are feeding on a lot of minnows this time of year, and generally I'll get relatively aggressive with this, you know, getting that bait out there, letting it touch bottom, and kind of doing a snap jig. In the spring we do a lot of this slower stuff. I'll get a lot twitchier with it this time of year, and that's great for either snapping through the weeds, letting that bait touch bottom again, snap it back out, but you get that classic boom kind of bite right there. So that's kind of one presentation. You get a fluke style minnow and a 1/4 ounce jig, you're going to be absolutely in the money this time of year. Another bait is a jerkbait. Now jerkbaits, I've noticed a big difference. Sometimes fish want to eat a bait that's up off the bottom versus on the bottom. A lot of times you get in these weeds, the walleyes are down off that edge, and you'll see all that bait up high on top of the weeds. And that jerkbait's perfect for kind of that suspending minnow bait, super natural, and kind of provokes a different kind of attack for those fish. A lot more of a predatory response from just a suspending big stick bait. So a jerkbait that gets down in that 3 to 6 foot range, great option.
Oh, yeah, baby. There we go. First cast.
The other bait, which you gotta have in June, is a slip bobber and a jumbo leech. Fish love jumbo leeches this time of year. If they're not on a little bit more of aggressive presentation, set that slip bobber about 2-3 feet above those fish, kind of spot lock with your Minn Kota on that weed edge, and pitch that bobber right on top of them. You start getting bug hatches happening this time of year, and that's really when that leech bite fires off. Really through the whole month of June, these are kind of 3 baits you gotta have in the boat.
I've got a confession. Up until recently, I've sort of been treating jerkbaits like that piece of celery on the plate of boneless wings. I'll dabble occasionally, but typically I'm skipping it. I'm going straight for the meat.
Dude, you're a genius.
But lately, around here, a jerkbait is just flat out getting bit when nothing else is working. And I'm starting to learn that there are also some very sneaky cadences that you can be using to turn a lot of those followers into biters. So for this next one, I'm going to jump in the boat with Dan Spengler, awesome dude who also just so happens to be the senior project engineer at Berkley, and the fella who designed the Berkley Stunna jerkbait. And man, he knows ways to work that jerkbait manipulate it into doing things that I've never seen jerkbaits do, and he was getting so many more bites than us in the front of the boat. He was in the back out fishing us. So let's jump onto that footage right now. There's no sonar, no pole system on the back, but he's batting cleanup back here, and we switched to the same baits as him, but he's still lighting it up from the back of the boat, and he's finally gonna clue us in on how he is working it.
So first things, I'm casting really shallow into weeds. You can see right here, my Stunna 100. This is like my all-time favorite jerkbait for walleyes now, by the way. But we're casting it really up shallow. You can see kind of some reed grass in the back and kind of on this weed flat. And what I do is I just cast it out and give the rod tip a couple sweeps, but I don't want to overwork the jerkbait. We're in the middle of the day. This is a really hard time to get bites. So I'm just small little twitches and let that bait sit. And the key with walleyes and out here when it's tough, or in any situation anywhere with walleyes and jerkbaits, is letting that jerkbait just hang there. The walleyes just can't stand it. So the cool thing about this bait is these little twitches. This jerkbait is actually designed to sit nose down, right? So when you pop or give the little twitch cadences, the bait actually pops up, belly up, and rolls and shimmies. So I'm just doing these little intermittent, little tiny pops and letting it sit there and counting to like 10 or 15. And I get these bites. So it's been pretty fun cleaning up in the back. Gotta be honest. While Corey and Brett are up in the front.
Show me a little more of the little pops. And here's one thing I have to note. It's June. It's hot. This isn't something that we filmed 2 months ago in cold water, and so he's working it super slow. We have hot water, weeds growing up, and I mean, it's summertime, you know, and here's the
so little tiny twitches. I don't know, they might look a little bit bigger on film, but I'm moving my rod tip like 3 to 4 inches and just letting it sit there. One hop allows this bait to roll and shimmy, and then I just let it sit there. So it just looks like a struggling, dying bait fish kind of hovering in the water column. So, and the Stunna is a sinking jerk bait, so I let that bait just continue to sink down into the weeds. And the walleyes are in the weeds. It's really actually difficult to track them down with forward-facing sonar. So we know they're in the weeds, we've caught them in the weeds, but this allows the bait to thoroughly fish these weed flats.
Pinging a minnow has been all the rage in the bass world. Don't let them fool you though. Baits like this little CrushCity Mooch minnow absolutely spank walleyes too, especially since forward-facing sonar entered the chat and folks are putting more and bigger new screens on the front of their boat. Ah, that new screen feeling. And while there's plenty of walleyes out floating around suspended over deep water, right now during this kind of summer transition, there is a ton of fish sitting in that cabbage and coontail mix right on the weed edge. And they'll be there all year. So I've been finding a pile of walleyes in that about 18 to 22 foot range. Kind of depends on the lake. But basically where those weeds kind of taper off on the bottom edge of the break and before it dips down into that basin. One of my absolute favorite ways of picking those weed edge fish off is with a drop shot and a crawler. Shallow weeds. Don't get me wrong, I sprinkle in some plastics or even leeches or minnows in the fall too, but there's just something about the crawler on that drop shot that gets bit. It must be that buggy or larva look to it. Whatever it is, they munch it. Especially when it's that little nugget on a drop shot rig with say about a 12 to 18 inch dropper, so it's keeping that chunk of crawler in the strike zone perfectly off bottom, above the muck and the weeds on bottom, and right in front of their face. Which reminds me, as someone who's been drop shotting for walleyes on purpose, pretty hardcore for the last few seasons, I have always had a love-hate relationship with the drop shot weights. They have a little clip on there so you can put your line through, clip it on there, and it's made so that you can adjust your depth. Tungsten ain't cheap. I clip my line in there and then I tie an overhand knot so it doesn't fall off or pull off on weeds or rocks. Anyway, long story short, I have a new favorite drop shot weight. VMC just came out with it. It's called the B.E.T tungsten drop shot weight. B.E.T stands for Big Eye Teardrop. It now has that loop so you can actually tie a Palomar knot, and that weight is not pulling off no matter what. Your line would have to break. But there's a bunch of other things that they've done to it that make it my favorite drop shot weight. One being it has a built-in swivel to reduce line twist. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Two, the weight is laser etched onto the side, so you actually know what size weight you're throwing or tying on, if it's a quarter, 3/8, an eighth, whatever. Thank you again.
Oh, don't mention it.
Three, obviously it's tungsten, which is great because it's more compact, smaller profile. It's also a harder metal, so you have better sensitivity for feeling things like bottom hardness or composition, if there's rocks down there, if there's weeds, if you're hung up, whatever.
Now there's a fourth thing, entertainment.
I dig the matte black finish because I don't want the fish going for the weight. I want them to instead focus on the bait that's 12 or 18 inches up above it. I've been using them all season so far, and I can't imagine a drop shot weight being designed more perfectly. They absolutely nailed it, and walleyes absolutely nail drop shots, especially right now in this summer transition time. So give one a shot and go out and catch some more walleyes. I learned an awesome new side imaging trick today thanks to just a gem of a human who goes by the name of Sobi. He uses the SI range overlay on his chart so that it shows exactly on his map where his side imaging range is reaching, and it's a slick trick.
If you want to immediately get better at graphing right now, there's one simple tool that maybe you know or maybe you don't know, but you got to check it out. So I'm doing a little side imaging right now. I'm just trying to hit this tiny little point next to this flat. And I want to know exactly where my side imaging is hitting. Right now, I have a general idea, but I don't know exactly. So on the Explorer unit, go to the little burger button, you go down to the settings, you go to vessel overlays right here. And this is the money tool, side imaging range. And I'll exit out. I'm reading 80 feet on my side imaging. If I crank it up over here, maybe I want to bounce it out to like 110. You see how this thing is growing and shrinking? Now I have a really good idea that if I just do one pass over this, I am hitting this whole little point. If I bounce out here and I want to hit this little hump, I know I can hit it from the side and still get the whole point. Side imaging range is a money tool. It's going to make you more efficient, and if you like to side image and find stuff offshore, you need to utilize it.
That's what I got for you. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Thank you to Humminbird and Minn Kota for helping us to bring you the juice. We'll be back at you soon with some more fishy tips.